In learning objective C, we're going to solve quadratic equations by doing square roots. And this is a quadratic equation because it's x squared, okay? Now this works just like math kind of did back in September with a little bit of a twist. So let's get started. I want to get x by itself. So I have to get rid of two things, this squared and the 3. The 3 is furthest out, so let's move that first. Instead of adding, I'm going to subtract. Then I'm left with x squared equals 18. Okay. Now it says x squared. The way to get rid of the squared is to take a square root. If you do it to one side, you have to do it to the other. So the square root and the squared cancel each other out, and I'm left with this. Now be careful, whenever you solve a quadratic and you take the square root of both sides, you have to put a plus and minus right here. Because the squared right here means there's two answers, a plus and a minus, so don't forget that. Okay, now I think I'm done, but I have to see if I can rationalize it or simplify it. So, is the number, can 4 come out of 18? Can 9 come out of 18? Can 16? You know what? 9 can. The square root of 9 times 2 is 18. So what I have to do, don't lose my plus and minus, do square root of 9 times the square root of 2. This therefore becomes plus or minus. The square root of 9 is the one that becomes the number. That becomes the number 3. The square root of 2 stays the same, so don't change it. That's our answer. There's two answers. It would be plus 3 times the square root of 2 and minus 3 times the square root of 2 is what this means when you see it kind of written as a group. This is just some really nice math shorthand where they will do plus and minus. And if you do that, typically we don't write this plus symbol here. So we would normally just write 3 times the square root of 2, negative 3 times the square root of 2. Okay, let's try this one. To get x by itself, the little 2 has to move, and so does the negative 6. The negative 6 is furthest away, so I'm going to add 6 to both sides. So x squared equals 20. Last thing we have to do is get rid of the squaring. Easy enough. Take the square root. Don't forget plus and minus. That leaves us with x equals plus or minus the square root of 20. Now before you circle it, again you have to think, can you pull out a 4, 9, 16, or 25? You can. 20 is the same as the square root of 4 times 5, which is the square root of 4 times the square root of 5. The square root of 4 is the number 2, and that's the square root of 5 still. So I'm going to rewrite my answer as plus or minus 2 times the square root of 5. Here's another one. I have to get the little 6 out of here and the little 2. Always leave the exponent until last in this case. So instead of multiplying by 6, we're going to divide by 6. And that's going to leave us with y squared equals 12. Come in and take the square root. Don't forget plus and minus. Am I done by saying the answer is plus or minus the square root of 12? Well, on the side, I just realized 12 is 4 times 3 as the square root. So I can do the square root of 4 times the square root of 3, which becomes 2 times the square root of 3. So I do have to adjust my answer to be plus or minus 2 times the square root of 3.